Hello, everyone. Welcome to Social Justice. I am Daren, Jaime, and we thank you for joining us. Now, if you're asking a question, what is the Social Justice Forums all about? Well, we're a forum that provides a discussion, deeper understanding of the issues and inequities that so many people face, things such as systemic inequalities to pressing social problems. Our guests provide multiple perspectives as well as insights, helping us to better understand and address these challenges. So, we invite you to stay connected to us. The Social Justice Forums starts right now. And welcome back. Our upcoming guest has been making significant strides in the dynamic realms of fashion and entertainment, capturing attention and setting some noteworthy trends. Now, renowned for her distinctive approach, seamlessly merges lifestyle and culture, and our guest plays a pivotal role as a model liaison. And joining us now to give us a little bit about this, I'm joined by celebrity stylist and creative director. We've got Denise Styles, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good. And so as we talk a little bit about you, the work that you're doing really is, I tend to say that it's directed at improving lives, and at the same time also it's a career.
Yes.
So
yes.
Fashion is a huge business.
Yes, it is.
But there's so much more to fashion. But talk a little bit about you.
I'm from the Bronx. I've been in the fashion industry for 6 years. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first came into the fashion industry, I was targeting to help others in the fashion industry, not just with like clothes, dressing them up, with mental health, and learning how to gain another income in the industry as well. The industry has been a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a roller coaster because I work with models and artists. So sometimes it can be like full of ups and downs, different personalities. But I've learned working for customer service for 7 years, 10 years to deal with different personalities in the industry. And it's been okay lately. It's been going well. And I'm just excited to be able to help others. I come from the Bronx, so I was brought up in a poor town. Family was not wealthy. I've been through a lot. So to change others, and hear their, childhood traumas and what I went through, some of the things that I went through, it's like, this is amazing. Like, it's not only about the clothes or the looks, it's more so of, getting a deeper connection with a lot of the models and artists in the industry.
Right. I want to tell people, people ask you, what have you done? And, she's you've been featured in Insider, Yahoo, also
Yes.
People Magazine, Vogue,
Yes.
Bustle, BuzzFeed, and then
Yes.
also It's Only Entertainment, Beauty News NYC. So
Yes.
you've been out there, and you've got your name out there, but you're doing the work. But what I like about what you're saying is that there's more to it than just
Yes.
equipping somebody for the fashion industry. You're really trying to help people with life as well.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes the fashion industry is not good for mental health, and music entertainment is not good for mental health. So having someone around that understands it is more like it. A lot of the girls, they like, you're not only just a mentor, you're more than that. Like, you're like an angel. You give us hope. You are like helping us through our struggles. Not only are you connecting us, you are like taking time to sit down and hear us out and talk to us and help with like our mental health. So it's been like that since day one. Like, when I came into the industry, I wanted to go into community, like helping the community. And I got it. Like 6 years, it's just been picking up, and I was like, oh my goodness, like they love it. Like, so like I said, it's more than just getting them dressed and taking them out to connect with other people. It's like, do we have a deep connection? Do we know what we can help each other with, other than just throwing each other into the industry and connecting each other? Like, is your mental health okay? Like, how are you doing your personal life? So
That's a different approach, because I think a lot of people in the business you know, we're gonna do this job, we're gonna do it together. You know, make this money, we're gonna keep it moving, right?
Yes.
But then you're also saying part of what I'm doing is I'm really taking a look at the person
Yes.
as opposed to the person that people see in front of the camera.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And a lot of the times in my photo shoots, I give out messages about, like, you know, things that I've been through. Like, I don't say, yeah, I had childhood trauma, but a picture, if I had a photo shoot about 3 years ago, it's still going up to this day, and it's basically giving like a message, like turn pain into power. So it's a black fairy and a white one in my hand, and it's showing like clouds and dark, but light too.
Right.
It's giving the light of it. So I like to give the message in the art as well. Like I'm not gonna tell you it, but you can see something, like, you know.
Right.
So yeah.
When you're now that you're in, you know, a place of fashion and, you know, you're working
Yes.
with these top level people, very many times people say, well, you know, you don't forget where you come from, right? But you don't forget where you come from.
No.
When you were, before you got to where you are today, let me ask the question about what were the issues that you wanted to see addressed from your community that maybe, you know, weren't getting addressed?
Right. Back in my days growing up, we had PAL, we had things to do. We were occupied, we were, you know, always going out as a group, and that's not what they're doing right now in the community. There's more so of kids hanging around, kids watching the older guys that I was watching when I was growing up, and it's like, it's nothing in the community for them. Like, I mean, when I say nothing, nothing at all, and those are things that, like, I want to change. When I was growing up, like I said, we had PAL, we went out as a group to pools and beaches, and today it's not like that. So there's those things, like, I want to address, like, why aren't there anything for the kids today? It's just phones today. And we didn't have that growing up.
Right.
That's the only thing, like, we didn't have phones growing up, but it's for the better. It was for the better, because the new generation.
Yeah, they're all in and all on it.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But for yourself, looking now and say, listen, how I can make a difference. When you look at your community right now and say, what are the things that I can really do in terms of just, you know, being there and bringing that social justice, if you will, to your own community, what do you say?
So I have some mentees in my neighborhood that I took in. I actually started with some people from my neighborhood. When I started, I was doing the projects in my apartment. And I would invite, like, a lot of them over so they can take some pictures. We can have some photos, you know, get some photo shoots and video shoots. And I think, like, by bringing the fashion industry in that area, it'll change. And I feel like it will, you know, and that's something new, because they don't have that in that area. And not only just bringing myself, like, hey, yeah, I'm doing a good job, and everybody's like, congratulations, you're doing great and stuff. No, congratulations, thank you, but what can we do together? Like, you know, can you model, can you rap, can you sing, you know? So I tend to bring that in my community a lot of the times when I'm over there.
Yeah. Do you feel like the industry sometimes doesn't pay attention to, because we do find that people are, like, socially conscious, right? There are, you can look at your, you know, in your reservoir of people and say, there are a lot of people who are socially conscious, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who aren't. There are people who just say, listen, you know, I'm just going to get mine and keep going.
Yeah.
What do you find in your circle? Do you find people are more socially conscious? Are we talking about the stuff that matters the most?
Not really.
Right.
Not really. There's none in the community. I mean, yeah, not really. So for me, like, I just think a lot of people have the talent, and they don't work towards the talent, and I don't think that people would believe in themselves a lot of the times when they're stuck in the neighborhood. And me, I'm just like, hey, you're doing good. There's guys that's been rapping in my area. I'll be like, get back in the booth. Like, what are you doing with yourself? Like, get back in the booth. You can be, or I'll see a girl in my area be like, yo, you can dress. Like, you can be in the fashion industry. Like, you have the potential. Like, you know, And sometimes they'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna get back in, or I'm gonna do something with myself. And even the girls that I brought in when I first started are still working to this day. Runways, they working. Had the same talk with them, like get in the industry, like let's work, like do something new with yourself. They
Right.
love it. It's something you fall in love with.
Mentorship is big, but then also there's this level of like, another part of social justice is also community engagement, right? And
Yes.
I think you're doing a decent job of saying, hey, you're also trying to engage the community because in
Yes.
addition to working with the models, you're also trying to talk to community members and say, hey,
Yes.
let's make this connection. Talk about that.
Yes, yes. So I love doing that. There's a lot of people in my neighborhood that have potential, other than just being in the neighborhood. Like they have the potential to be more. Sometimes they are not more because of the people that they hang around. And I tell them all the time, you see me, I'm dolo now. Like I come from here. Like this is where I come from. Like, but I'm gonna make a change. And I show them. I get them hype, excited to want to do it. Like, hey, do something else, like with yourself. So right now, I just opened a studio in that area. It's called Denise Style Studio. It's going to be for a lot of the people that can't afford photo shoots, video shoots, and recording space. And it would just be for the people I know that has the potential and needs this space. If we wasted time, not going to bring you here. But this studio took me about 3 months. Took me about 3 months to get together. It opens Friday, March 1st. I have a lot of models and TikTokers coming by that day. And I'm excited because it's going to be for the community. Everything's going to be, I'm going to give back. I'm definitely going to give back to the community. And I'm definitely going to be like bringing the girls in to work. And I also opened it so we could be in a comfortable space when we work in. They safe in my studio. So that's definitely like.
Yeah. You also we talked a little bit about, before we started, how you were engaging with some of the people that are your models,
Yes.
right? And making sure that there's safety.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I don't think that sometimes people understand the magnitude of the matter that we're talking about because we just see the lights and the camera and the action. But there's a whole lot to be concerned with behind the scenes that people are talking about,
Yes.
but aren't really raising to the roof. So let's talk a little bit about what happens behind the scenes that gives you concern.
So I have been to a few power shoots before where there was older men and the body language. Like when I walk in with the girls, they like, "Who's this new face? We can't play here." So I felt the energy. I feel the energy a lot of the times, and I know that certain pictures they want to take, and I notice like it's hard. It's really hard to discuss it, but it's the alcohol on set. You're a photographer. Why are you drinking with a bunch of models wearing bikinis? I don't think we should be drinking on a job, or smoking on a job, or using any drugs on the job. Especially drugs that maybe you can't control. Alcohol, you can be intoxicated and can't control that. So a lot of the times, the poses that they make the girls take is kind of like legs open. I see. I had a guy actually from a power shoot that sent me a link, and the link had my girl with her legs open and her panties were showing. And he had a lot of pictures of girls' back, turned around, their butts out, and he just took those type of pictures. He didn't take professional pictures like he was supposed to. We're at a Halloween photo shoot. Why are you in between her legs? Why is your camera in between her legs? Why is this in your link? Then a lot of the girls complained a couple of times that he sexual harassed me. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, yeah, these photo shoots, they drink and they do certain things and they want us to dress a certain way so they can sexual harass us. So I'm like, wow. And, I noticed it at a couple of the power shoots because there's no way that you want a model to come all the time in bikinis. You don't want them to get dressed. You know, they still could look good fully dressed.
Right.
But a lot of those photo shoots, I noticed, like, nah, they're not good.
So you have sexual harassment that goes on behind the scenes,
Yes.
and you're really having to pay attention to that.
Yes.
And you know, we understand even there's trafficking involved sometimes in this
Yes.
in this industry.
Yes.
Were these things that you knew before that, before you got into the business, or did you like kind of like find this out on the job?
When I got in, that's when I said, like, of course we heard things about Diddy and all these people growing up, R. Kelly, and of course. But when you actually get in and you're like looking in, you're like, bro, this is crazy. Like, it's true. Like, these models are being molested. Like, they're being sexually harassed at photo shoots, video shoots. You know, they're being forced, they're being drugged. You have to watch out. That's another thing I'm very strict with the girls. You got a cup, you put it down, don't pick it up. It's done. You know, you don't know what they put in this drink. I always watch out for that, and just if they're okay. Hey, are you okay? You're right in the next room. Are you sure? Like, you know, because it goes on, and these guys are creeps. Like, they're drinking alcohol on set. For what? You know, it's not that serious. You understand? Like, you're working. How are you gonna work drunk? So I see that at a lot of the power shoots. I don't attend them anymore. A lot of the times, like, I'll set up photo shoots for the girls, and they'll come by, and they're safe. They're taking pictures. They can get naked if they want to, but that's up to them. We're all girls, so we're in the room. It's just a male photographer we'll have, and I'm pretty sure he controls himself around me too, because he knows I notice everything.
Right, right.
I notice everything.
So in the industry, there's a lot of things that sometimes I think we don't see, right? And if you're not, you know, we hear about it sometimes, or you only hear about it like in a case where we see celebrities now who are in the spotlight. I'm not gonna call anybody's name, but you know, there's enough of them that are in the spotlight that
Yes.
after the fact, here comes to say like, this was going on, this was going on, this was going on.
Yes.
But I guess the question is, while all this is going on, and you, like you say, you have firsthand knowledge, how many people are really out there speaking to these issues that really need to be dealt with?
Not a lot. A lot of them are scared, or they feel like they're not going to be heard because who the person might be, or would people believe them, or would this person blackball them in the industry and tell people not to work with them. So they don't speak about it. I'm probably one of the people in the industry that the girls do speak to about it. And I notice it. I'll notice it, like, too. So we'll speak and don't go back. Don't work with this photographer anymore. These photographers are like, hey, I want to take pictures of you. Can you wear a thong? Don't go. Tell him, no, that's not what you do, you know. You can do that on your own time. Like, when you want to have a photo shoot, you can do that on your own time. But if a photographer reaches out and says that, don't go.
Right.
So a lot of the times, like, it's not being spoken about. They don't speak about it. I don't speak about things neither. I keep it confidential, but I do tell the girls, like a model or anyone that comes to me and say, hey, this dude wants to work with me, I'll tell them, nah, this is what I know, and I want to make sure that you're safe. Right. Even when photographers say, hey, you can come to my apartment. No, I don't agree with the apartment thing. It's either a studio where cameras is in it, or no apartment, you know, no photo shoot. So yeah, but they don't speak about it though. I don't know why either. I don't know why things don't get spoken about right then and there in the industry. They wait for years or months to speak about these things. When they are concerns, they should speak about molestation in the industry so that these guys could stop.
Right.
You know, but they don't speak about it.
And we hear a lot, that particularly in black and brown communities, of where this is like prevalent.
Yes, it is. Yes. I like I said, I can't believe it. It's our, you know, kind that's drinking on set, and these are young ladies. Like, we're working with young ladies right now, and they're like intoxicated. I can smell it on their breath. I'm like, these guys are intoxicated, and it's our color, our race as well. Like, they do it the most. You know, it's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame.
So you've actually taken your work and you've parlayed that into education,
Yes.
Advocacy.
Yes.
But talk to me a little bit about where we are today and what can we look forward to?
Well, right now I'm working on the studio. I'm trying to get more into the community. I'm trying to give back, so I'm trying to like set up a date. I might do something for Easter for the kids in my community. So I'm right now. I'm just working on my studio and getting some projects ready for the spring with the girls, and I am looking forward to a lot that I'm just like, it's God is leading the way. Honestly,
Right.
I don't know. This came like this was like the other day I got this information, this opportunity. So he might have something else for me in about an hour tomorrow. I can't call.
That's amazing. I get it. I get it. I understand it. And yes, I can understand it wholeheartedly. There are a lot of people who, when they talk about fashion, the first thing they're thinking about is being in front, right?
Yes.
And I tell people, because they see me sometimes, they say, well, I want to be on there, I want to be on there. I said, there's just as much power sometimes being behind the camera
It is.
as it is in front. And so for yourself, you're not in front, but you're helping design and take care of those people that are in front.
Yes.
What would you tell somebody about a career in being a fashion stylist? Because we spend so much time trying to be the model or the actor or the actress, but the stylist is it's the one.
The stylist is the one. God called me in. Honestly, it has to be in your face. I mean, I can't really. All I can say is, when you were 10 years old, did you have a vision about something? Or I can't tell them, hey, this is how you can get in the fashion industry. This has to be something that you see, young. And when I was in juvenile, I was in Brentwood, and me and some girl named Wilcox, we used to crochet, and we used to have fashion shows every Friday. She was the best. Still to this day, she's the best. She like literally used to be like, Pagan, we're gonna have a fashion show today. Like, we're gonna tell the staff we're having a fashion show today. And we used to have fashion shows, and my grandmother, she was great at what she did. She was good at sewing, she was making everything, curtains, Halloween costumes, everything. And it was in my face. It was not something like, I said, hey, I'm just gonna get into the fashion industry and I'm gonna be a stylist. And, a couple of my friends, they're like, yo, I want you to style for me. I want you to do something. And it was like, wow. It's like God calls it. So it's like, I will definitely tell this person, you should go with what you've envisioned. Your vision is, if you had this dream before, like even being a firefighter, if you had this dream before, go for it. It's something that God is calling. God is telling you do this.
Right.
He wants you to be here. So honestly, I don't know. I don't think I could say, hey, this is all you have to do to get in. Like, no, it's not all you have to do.
There's a whole lot more to it.
It's a whole lot of praying and following God's steps. Like, I always tell people, I work for God. Like, I don't know. It's a vision I've been seeing since young, so it's just picked me up. Like,
well, I want to thank you for coming by, sharing a little bit about what's going on in the industry. I think we should pay attention to.
Yes.
And congratulations on the success
Thank
that
you
you've
so
been
much.
having, and much success to you in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
Yes,
Seriously.
Denise Style, celebrity
Yes.
stylist, creative director, model liaison. And we're taking a quick break, and we'll be back with more here on the Social Justice Forum right after this.
We can't get anything done in this world that's so interdependent without communication. And certainly community-based media is really the core of that.
You guys do a great service to the city of New York, to the communities within that city, and really for the entire state of New York, telling the residents firsthand what's happening out there. It's very important that we keep your facility going for as long as possible.
We talk about the Bronx. We talk about it being a borough of opportunities, a global destination. We want to make sure that we create access and opportunity for future generations, creating local jobs, stimulating our economy, giving young people opportunities like internships that will not lead to jobs, but will lead to careers.
And we are back. Everyday Table is a food company transforming the food system to make fresh, nutritious food accessible to everyone, everywhere. The company is forging a new path forward in the food equity space through our new health partnership, NYC Health. And joining me now is the CEO of Everyday Tables, Sam Polk. And Sam, glad to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Obviously, a great time for you, and really the work is going on, and you're really, transforming the food system here, trying to make food fresh and then nutritious, and it's a great work. But talk to me about what got you inspired in this.
Actually, the civil rights movement. I was in a past life was a hedge fund trader until I picked up a book by Taylor Branch about Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, and was so inspired by the work going on there that decided that I wanted to find a way to make a contribution. And then, cut to a year later, I've left Wall Street, and my wife and I sit down and watch a bunch of Netflix food documentaries. And one really sort of started talking about this idea of food deserts and food inequality. And to me, it was just this simple idea that healthy food shouldn't be a luxury product. It should be accessible and affordable for everyone.
When you think about it, there are a lot of food deserts, particularly, and it's hard to believe. I mean, let's really get at it. I mean, when you think about being in the inner city, to think that there's so many places where there are actually food deserts and they actually exist. But we know the benefits of having food is that, from a perspective, food is medicine. I'll throw the word out there. Food is medicine. How do you answer that?
Well, I think that's 100% true. And the whole sort of like industry, the healthcare industry and government is really getting behind that idea. The other side of it is that food or fake food can be poison. And, the other thing I will say is that people talk a lot about food deserts, but I almost think about it the other way, that there's really affluent communities where, there's a Whole Food and a Sweet Green and 10 different, places that are selling salads. But most other communities, not only inner cities and technically food deserts, but also sort of middle income areas that just can't afford to pay $18 for a salad on a regular basis, there's not many options there either.
Yeah. And you really say, listen, what can I do? And you're doing something about it. I mean, you've actually got some skin in the game here. And when you talk about the skin in the game, you've actually got a storefront that's going up, and it's right there by Jacoby. You got some healthcare workers and things of that nature. Somebody's going to ask the question, why would you put a storefront up right there?
Oh, well, I mean, Jacoby is, first of all, this is our 70th store, roughly. We have about, 60 in Southern California and then around 10 in New York City. And 2 of those are, and soon to be 5, are in major hospitals. And the one we're talking about is in the Jacoby Healthcare Center in the Bronx. And if you think about a hospital in the Bronx, it's sort of exactly what I'm talking about, where not a ton of healthy food options in the incredibly vibrant, amazing community that the Bronx is. And then also in the hospital, you've got a whole big cross section of people. You've got doctors that may be making 6 figures, but you've got a lot of people that are, staff that are making, $20 an hour, $30, and then also patients. And for all of them, Every Table is providing, first of all, incredible food. Like, that's the thing that I would love for you to try it someday. It's like, it is really good. It all starts with that. And then you look at it and you say, and this thing costs $6. This meal costs $7. It's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm on my way. Don't worry, I'm on my way. Trust me. But what I want to get at is that you have this great pricing model, which really, when we look at society, the struggle sometimes is not just the accessible food, but that it's also the price point. But you're really dealing with that. So talk to us about how you were able to do that, and why is it so hard for other people to do that?
Well, because it's really hard. I mean, that's the basic thing. Like, the way we make our food incredibly low price while having the highest quality ingredients and the best chefs making it is that we centralize production. So instead of having kitchens in every single store, we have a single kitchen, and there's one in Brooklyn and there's one in Los Angeles. And at this kitchen, we're using automation and incredibly efficient operations to make from scratch fresh, healthy, delicious meals and then package them in grab and go containers. So then when you walk into the store, it's sort of like a Pret. You walk in, everything's pre-made, made fresh that day, and you just grab it and we'll heat it up for you, or it's a salad or a wrap and you just take it to go.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we also vary our prices so that we provide value to everybody. But if we've got a store like we do in New York, we've got a store in Chelsea. So that's like a more affluent community. We're selling meals for $8, but then we've got stores in Harlem and Flatbush and and the Bronx, and we're selling the same meals for $6 or $7. And that's not, to be clear, about charity. That's because those stores are very profitable. It's about making it affordable and accessible for everyone and bringing value to everyone. But truth is, value in Chelsea is a little bit different than what it looks like in the Bronx.
You do a great job, if you will, of marrying community and culture and then menu. And I mean, that's intentional. Talk to me about the intentionality in those areas, because you're taking community, culture, menu, and you're fusing it together, and it's having great results.
Well, it's funny, when we started raising money for this, people would say like, you can't just bring in, healthy food and expect people to eat it. And we were saying, I don't know what you think that healthy food is, but we're not bringing like a celery and iceberg lettuce, salad. Like, we're talking about like Jamaican jerk chicken with coconut beans and rice and, a chicken shawarma that is out of this world. Like, real food that celebrates the cultures and communities that we are becoming a part of. And that's, for us, is the idea where it's like, healthy food, what we think of as healthy food, it should just be like real food that your grandmother would have recognized as food. And we'll just make that from all these different communities across LA and New York.
It seems so easy, but the reality is it's hard work, and you're really doing the hard work. When we see the results, obviously somebody's out there saying, this sounds great, I need it in my backyard. What about expansion? Where are we going from here?
I mean, look, our goal is to become the largest food company in the country and redefine the food landscape like McDonald's did. And that sounds about that in the 60s, there was no McDonald's. Like, what we think of as normal has just been a development over time. And I think that as a country, all of us are coming to understand that the food system and how it's changed has helped us in a lot of ways. Like, food is now affordable and it's convenient and it's delicious, but for the most part, it's also fatal. And so if we can figure out a model, which we have, to make food that is affordable and delicious and convenient and also healthy, that's going to change the world.
What has been your take on the response that you've gotten since? I mean, obviously we see the expansion, but really to have a dedicated storefront, to see people actually be able to come through the doors and take part. What's the response that you're hearing from people, particularly when we talk about food insecurity and food deserts, and then they find a place like yours?
Well, the thing is, I think the thing to understand is that, like, when we're talking about this now, we're talking about food insecurity and food deserts and business models. But when people walk into the store, what they care about is, I'm hungry. And no matter how cheap you make food, if I'm going to sell you a graham cracker with a piece of bologna on it, like, even at 25 cents, you're not psyched about it. But if it's amazing food, you're going to be excited. And so that's what, if you look at all our Yelp reviews, which are, above 4.5 stars across the board, across all stores, that's what people are talking about. They're like, this food is amazing. And then they'll get to the price and the convenience and the mission, but it's just, the food is really good.
Sam, I want you to know you've got my whole staff in here hungry. They're staying with us right now, but they're about to check out because they're all hungry right now. But I want to talk about how this can be replicated, right? Because the reality is that you're really filling a need, and this is a need that we really have here in our community, food deserts, insecurity, and you're able to really do that. Somebody's out there watching right now saying, listen, I just want to make an impact. How can somebody make an impact without replicating what you do? I mean, it's the greatest form of flattery, don't get me wrong. However, but what can you do to really, play our part in this?
Well, it's a really great question. And we really thought about that. And the way we thought about that has to do with franchising. And so, when we looked at franchising, we said, franchising is this great way to expand because you're utilizing the passion of entrepreneurs. They get to own their own business, and it's actually better capital wise for the company. But the problem with franchising is, like so many other industries, you have to have wealth to actually succeed in it. And we said, look, just like there's not a lot of healthy food in underserved communities, there's not a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship if you don't have that cushion behind you. And so we've gone and raised, I think it's like $16 million now in a franchise fund where people come and work in our stores, they become store managers, then they become area managers. And when they're ready to take on a franchise, we take this capital that we've raised and lend them the money to be their own franchise. And so now you get the best of both worlds, which is this very efficient company that is going for big scale, but it's owned by people in the communities who are trying to lift their communities up just as well as we are.
They say you got your finger on the pulse. You got your finger on the pulse, brother. Let me ask this, because you're at a place, though, where you honestly are being able to do two things. You can serve the underserved, which is part of what you want to do, but then also be a bridge in the affluent, and that isn't necessarily easy to do either.
Well, that's the thing is, like, we live in a deeply unequal world, and, Los Angeles, where I live, has neighborhoods that a certain kind of people grow, and neighborhoods that are very segregated, and certain other kinds of people go. And every table's core belief is that we're all connected and we're all inclusive and we're all, there's differences in cultures, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. And so our challenge as a business is, can we create a system that works for everyone, but also links everybody together? And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I have a favorite saying: everybody sees the glory, but they don't know the story. Talk to me about the story of how you got here to this place where we all are giving you glory. Talk to us about the story, because it wasn't necessarily too easy.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think the food business is hard. The fresh food business is harder. And then the fresh food business at below fast food prices is probably the hardest thing you can do in the food world, not to, talk our own book.
Right.
So it's been a grind, man. I mean, like, figuring out how to make incredibly delicious food is hard. Figuring out how to do it really efficiently is really hard. Figuring out logistics to get food from the commissary to our stores and to our customers. I mean, all of it has been, I've got a lot more gray hairs than when I started. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. But when we talk about franchising, obviously the opportunity for entrepreneurship for some, right? And to be able to branch out on their own, this is huge, because you're not just giving consumers, the product per se, but you're also giving people the opportunity for entrepreneurship and to be able to start your own, your own business, which is sometimes hard, a very hard thing to do when it comes to food service. And we know that the longevity in this business isn't always there, but you got sustainability, man.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing is, like, we talked about how we're bringing our customers together, but we've also brought a lot of different kinds of capital together. Like, we've raised money from pure venture capital who see this as the next McDonald's. And we've raised plenty of money from foundations who say, wait, you're going to bring healthy food in underserved communities and then also ownership opportunities. We want to be a part of that as well. And so I think every table is really a testament to, there are a lot of people that want to do good things in the world. And if you can get them together, you can create something pretty magical.
How do you get them together? That's the question that everybody wants to know. You kind of like cornered the market a little bit on getting them together. What's been the secret sauce for you?
I think it's just respect and humility on some level. Like, I guess I'm fortunate, and because I spent a lot of time on Wall Street, but also spent a lot of time in the nonprofit world, working in, South Los Angeles, which is a neighborhood where per capita income is $13,000 a year. And just, coming correct into neighborhoods. And that means, coming correct into Compton, but it also means coming correct into the venture capital worlds and the foundation worlds and saying, what is your interest and how can we align those with ours?
Yeah. And so if people want to get connected and they want to find out more, or, listen, my community could benefit from you, what do they do and what's the criteria?
Well, I think first of all, they can visit everytable.com to learn more. If they're interested in the entrepreneurship program and the social equity franchise, they can just go apply for a job at an Everytable store because everybody has a shot to get into that program. And then if they want to ask me questions, they can email me at sam@everytable.com.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you, brother. I mean, really a great work. 2024 is coming up. I mean, obviously you got some great thoughts ahead. Give us some insight into 2024, what you're looking to do.
Look, we're just going to keep growing and getting better. And by getting better, I mean making our food better and making our food cheaper. And the way we figure it is that if we can just keep making the food better and also cheaper, everything's going to work out.
Love you, brother, man. You're doing great work. Sam Polk, CEO, and we thank you so much for being with us. We will be back with more on the Social Justice Forum right after this.
Hello, my name is Tyrone Lowe. I host a show at BronxNet called The Legends, where I bring real legends, DJs, upcoming artists, actually people from the past that's into entertainment. I want to thank BronxNet. First of all, I want to thank for the 30 years of the actually being active here. It has opened a lot of doors for me to the point where I'm branching off to have my own network. Fulfill your dreams here. That's all I have to say.
And we are back. Our next guest is a true embodiment of resilience and empowerment. Hailing from right here in the borough of the Bronx, she's faced some of life's most formidable challenges head on, using her experiences not only to survive, but to thrive in the face of adversity. Joining us now, we are pleased to have the entrepreneur, the poet, Kim GoodLook Seabrook.
Yes,
How are you?
So much. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And when we think about poetry, right? Mm-hmm. And you got a unique handle on it. First of all, we'll talk about that in a minute, but
Okay.
We'll talk about life, right? We can have a whole
Sure.
show, right? Life,
You got
right?
time?
That's it. But for you, obviously, in the work that you're doing,
Yes.
You've been impacted by life experiences.
Absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit about that, first of all.
So, I'm in my late 40s. I'm 47. I was raised in the era of the crack era, and I like to talk about that because although those times were challenging, we also had some great times as far as community and knowing how to help each other, So, but yeah, that's just the beginning, right? Dealing with drug abuse in your family home, sexual abuse in the home. God, it's just so many things, poverty,
Right.
Trying to figure out how we're going to eat and make it the next day. Then as an adult, you go into domestic violence relationships and,
Right.
yeah.
And
It's
so
a
you have
lot.
all these things. You have all these things you're really dealing with, but at the same time, though, not easy in navigating through these.
Absolutely not.
So what was what were your? I'll say, what was the challenge for you as you were navigating this? Was it just all hitting you at once, or did you not know how to handle? What was it for you?
I think I've always handled everything with like some type of positivity at the end, you know what I mean? And knowing that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel is just knowing how to get there. So it took a lot, but poetry became my therapy, honestly, writing and expressing myself and letting things out and not be afraid, ashamed of the things that I went through,
Right.
because then you can help other people go and get through the same thing.
So you used poetry as an outlet during the time that you were going through this, and even after this. What was that like, discovering it?
Oh, well. So it takes a lot, right? So I've been writing poetry from a young girl, even changing hip hop songs. Like that's what made, me get into it. Hip hop is definitely my inspiration because it also talks about life, right? But then when you go through life, you find a way to challenge your experiences, right? And how to deal with it. So going through that, my first poem on stage was actually a situation where I was in an abusive relationship. I talk about it. I talk about abortion. I talk about me having an abortion and me getting through it. But then it's called Thankful for the Pain. So I'm thankful for the pain, the hurt, the tears, and the stress. But without it, I could not appreciate my happiness. And when I did that on stage, I noticed that I was able to help other people who have been through the same thing or just didn't know how to express themselves.
Right.
So that's what made me realize that there was a purpose in everything that I've been through. So yes.
Being able to share that story, right, and tell people. But that's really, I mean, you just said it so boom, 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 boom. But it wasn't boom, boom,
No.
boom. It was like boom, boom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was hard. It was hard. All those challenges was hard. You know, then I have a son too. So right now he'll be 25 in April. So he was a part of some of those challenges that I went through, the domestic violence and things like that, and having to see that. So no, it wasn't easy at all.
Right.
You know, but again, when you just know that you have a bigger purpose, and when you know that enough is enough, and when you have that spark inside of you, you find it, you know, and you just keep it going. So
You take your poetry and stuff and you use it.
I do.
And you shared like just how you share your story of some of what you've been through with people. Talk to me about that relational impact, because that has a lot to do with how people are encouraged, and at the same time an awareness to be able to say, you know what, I'm struggling with the same thing. Let me try to get some help here.
Yeah, so I'll talk about Memory Lane, which is my book, the first published book. It's a poetry book, but after each poem, it has a page with a word prompt, so that you can reflect on the poem that you just read. Excuse me, and it helps the reader become a writer and express their feelings. I've had people who were in rehab use that book. I use it in schools for students, and they didn't know how to express themselves, but throughout seeing somebody else going through something, they can relate, they can understand, and that's when you know that you're not by yourself, right?
Right.
Because that's a lot of times when we're going through something, we always think it's only us.
Right.
It's not just you, babe.
Right.
There's a lot of us, right? You actually got it pretty easy.
Right. If you want to compare some stories here, right? And so you take Memory Lane and then use it to walk people down your memory lane, right?
Absolutely.
What about them? Because what are we missing? For those of us who look into your life and look at the work that you're doing, what are we missing in terms of being able to relate to people and catch, you know, and really to connect with them? Because there's a huge disconnect, I think, that happens in the community from people who have relative experiences and then those people who are in the community who just sit back kind of like, right? And I think the justice aspect comes in when you're out there advocating, saying to the people like who are sitting, I'm not gonna say where I'm sitting today, you're saying to them like, you need to pay attention to this. What is it that you think that we need to be paying attention to through your journey that maybe we're not paying attention to as a community?
Oh God, that's a good question. So I mean, you need to pay attention to the journey. You
Right.
know, there's a lot of things that happen in between. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. You know, that people don't realize. You need to pay attention to the words. You need to pay attention to the actions. You need to just really pay attention. And sometimes, a lot of times, we always focus on ourselves and what we have to do. And there's a whole world out there aside from you. So it's hard to just say what we need to pay attention. There's so many different factors, right? Like, so you need to pay attention to somebody else. I think that's
Right.
You know,
And what have you been noticing as you're paying attention to other people?
I noticed that a lot of people are hurt. A lot of people don't know how to go through their memories because they don't want to unblock those things, right? They want to just leave it where it's at. But that's what's causing the pain. That's what's causing us to stay stagnant. That's what's causing us to not move forward.
Right.
So that's why I created that book, Memory Lane, Reminisce with Me Through Healing Poetry. At the same time, we can heal the things that you have been through. Let's go back and face those things that we had to deal with, right?
Right.
You know?
And we're getting there because here it is. You're saying pretty much in essence that there's trauma out there. There's pain out there, and there's a whole lot of people who are trying to navigate that, but don't have a space to really navigate that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so how have you been able to use poetry per se for yourself to tell somebody else, hey, maybe you might want to consider this, whether it's journaling, poetry, all of that, right? To get to a place where you can become better, not so traumatic, not so toxic.
Right. So again, I do workshops. I'm in schools. I'm online. I am, even on my social media, you know, I've always tried to make an impact on other people. I don't hide what I go through, you know, however, I'm not going to just, let's say posting, right? I'm not just going to post something that's depressing. I'm going to post where the solution is. Like we can always talk about, it's conflict resolution. That's what we need to focus on. We can talk about the problems, we can talk about the issues, but what's the solution?
Right.
And that's what I focus on.
So as we look at solutions, what are some of the solutions that we could be applying right now to helping with those persons that you're seeing out there, right? Because I think you tapped into some things about we need to pay attention to the journey, but I think also there's another component that we're not really sure and we're not really knowing how to medicate somebody's ills.
Well, that's the problem. A lot of times we want to medicate.
Right.
And I know you said that, not literally,
Right.
but that is the problem in the communities. We always medicating people instead of helping. Let's dig deep. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's find safe spaces. Let's build community, Remember, I used to knock on a neighbor's door, and if our lights was out, we would be able to have an extension cord to the neighbor and use their power too, right? These days we can't do that. So that's just one thing. Finances out here, like the economy. Like, you know how much money food is costing these days? Like, it is insane. It's absolutely insane. We're struggling, and we need to find some resources for the people in our community, find safe spaces. But they do exist. And that's what we need to focus on too. Like, a lot of times I hear people say, oh, there's nothing to do out here. Da-da. No, there is. I've even posted, here, we got an event for the kids. This is what's going on. Da-da-da. But no, you want to sit in front of the building and, gossip instead of actually going and finding something to do positive.
Right. So you've been able to take not just your work, but you've actually been able to take your voice, and you're on radio too.
I am on radio.
Let's give it the plug. Go ahead, guys.
So, shout out to Party 1019, The Matrix Studios, and we are on iHeartRadio. So I have a show at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, and it's called A Good Look with poetry, bars, and hooks.
How's that been going for you?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so what do we get if we tune in? I haven't tuned in, so forgive me. If I tune in, what do I?
When you get in, you're gonna get good vibes. You're gonna get good energy. You're gonna get positive messages. You're gonna have me having conversations with anywhere from people in the music industry to poetry to comedians, but people who are actually doing things, right? So it's not just who can sing a song, but what else are you doing with that music? What's your impact? What's your purpose in life? Like, let's talk about purpose. Let's talk about passion, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
And making a difference. So for yourself, it's got to be a full coming together, if you will.
Yeah.
Having the experiences that you had, but then at the same time also being able to come back now and to share from those experiences. I was talking in our last segment. Somebody else's pain. You're helping somebody else find purpose, huh?
Absolutely, we have to. Everybody has a purpose out here.
Yeah.
I went and spoke to, I did a performance at a senior daycare, and one of the guys, you could tell they were, I work with people on the spectrum as well. I have workshops with them also. So I do that. And I have a book about kids who have disabilities, but they actually have superpowers. They're called the GoodLook kids. So I do a lot of things. But that one guy, he said I was his hero, that I helped him that day. He was feeling depressed, and he said, I've been called a lot of things.
Right.
Inspiration, but to be somebody's hero, it means a lot. So I'm doing the right thing.
Does it make the journey worth it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was homeless for 2 years to pursue this career. And, I'm a poet first. My mother, my lover, my friend, writer, all of that stuff. So, but poetry is not just speaking the words, it's helping others find their voice.
Right. And you found you feel like right now that you're in the throes of you finding your voice, or is there still more of your voice that you have to find?
I feel like I'm good with my voice, but there's always things to find. Like, knowledge is infinite,
Right.
There's always things that I'm going to learn. There's always things that are coming my way. And, sometimes you may see this journey and then it's like, oh, this door is opening.
Right.
Okay, so.
I always like to ask people who say that they found their voice because, when we talk about social justice, we talk about the fact that really, in order to articulate sometimes, people don't articulate because they have yet to find their voice, right? But your person's found your voice, and you found your voice, and you give it to the community. Do you remember that defining moment when you said, I found my voice?
Yeah, I found it on stage the first time I did poetry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was writing that poem, which I mentioned, Thankful for the Pain, I remember the day writing it on the bed, the sun was shining on me, but to actually be there on stage, which my knees was knocking, and to be able to express the things that I went through personally in front of a bunch of strangers, right? And to not worry about if I was going to be judged because I'm talking about I had an abortion after, a very bad relationship, which I was.
Right.
And, but when the women came up to me stating, "You spoke for me. I just didn't know how to, say it myself." And then for the guys to be like, "What? That happened to you? Where he at?" And I felt safe. And I realized that there was something that I can do with this, and it wasn't just for myself.
So how do you encourage others to find their voice so that way they can talk, whether it's about life issues, justice, whatever? How do you encourage somebody to find their voice?
You got to find the right people around your circle. You can't be drinking all the time. You can't be partying all the time. There's a lot to do out here in this world. That is positive. There are a lot of people out here who are doing amazing things, and it's a lot harder to do the quote unquote bad things, right? Which is what they say. But find the good people. Find the people who are making changes, who have been through what you've been through, and you'll be able to find that voice.
Yeah. Is it hard? Well, I'm asking from your perspective. Was it as hard as you thought to find that voice?
Yeah, nothing great comes easy.
Right.
So through success, you gotta fail, you gotta drop, you gotta cry, you gotta be financially struggling. You got to go through so many different hurdles to even be successful. And I say there's different levels of success in people's eyes, right? But I found myself very successful. I've helped others, and that is a success in itself. I'm a published author. There's just a lot of amazing things that I consider myself successful.
So where do people find a way to tap into you? Because you're a great resource. I mean, you got this great life's journey, but at the same time, you're also helping people to shape theirs. So where do people tap into you at?
So you can reach me on my website, GoodLookSeabrook.com. You can reach me on IG, GoodLookSeabrook. I'm all over the place,
Yeah. And as we're into
Kim Seabrook, yeah.
Kim Seabrook, as we're into March and Women's History Month, who are some of your inspirations?
That is a very good question. So, hip hop was really my inspiration. So, but as far as I had a lot of great teachers. Let's go back to childhood because my parents were on drugs. So those teachers were a great inspiration in my life from elementary school and high school. So shout out to Mrs. Kowski and Ms. Kravitz, the whole Bronx regional team, my high school teachers. They were amazing. They made a major impact in my life, which is why I do a lot of what I do today, too.
Yeah. And so coming up, if you want to let people know what you got coming up,
Oh God, there's so many things. There's an event coming up, there's a few things coming up. In the summertime, we have media press coming up next month where we get a bunch of different artists to come through and show their light. I have a book festival coming up in May, I think. There's so much going on that like my calendar is so full, but yeah.
We can definitely catch you every Tuesday on 101.9.
That. Search on iHeartRadio, search for Party 1019, A Good Look with Poetry, Bars, and Hooks.
I definitely. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you. And listen, as we said, we always want you to be able to just tap in and find resources here on this show, and some great resources, great story.
Thank you.
Poetry and healing, and we enjoyed the story.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, listen, want to let us know that we come to the end of the show today. Hope you enjoyed this week's discussion on the Bronx Social Justice and Anti-Violence Forum. Somebody asked, well, what happened today? We talked about people who actually were able to find their voice. And sometimes finding your voice is one of the greatest things that you can do in the area of social justice. A person that can find their voice and then be able to articulate on the issues of life or just, in the regular day-to-day stuff that people are dealing with. To be able to find your voice is powerful. So I want to let you know if you want to rewatch this episode, there's a recablecast right here on BronxNet.org. And then also, if you want to join the conversation and present your point of view, visit our social media at BronxNet TV. We ask you, join us next week. We're going to elevate the discussion, bring further awareness across the globe. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, saying take care and God bless.